The following show and its content are the responsibility of the show's producers and participants.
Information related in this program is not meant to substitute medical recommendations. Before starting a treatment program, you should consult your physician.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
That's right. Welcome to the Couch Live here at WPSN99.com, the problem-solving network. Hello, everybody. Where we what, Trinity? Stream Solutions. There you go. Failed again. What I tell you, man? Whenever I throw to you, you just don't get it right.
I was doing a dramatic pause.
You know what? A little late.
I was doing a dramatic pause. I was gonna get it that time.
Yeah, all right.
Anyway, I was actually.
You were? You think so?
I was gonna do a dramatic pause.
All right. Anyway, I'm the street certified dope Dr. Louis Delgado here with you at WPSN99.com. And along with my partner, Trinity Phillips. There you are, Trinity.
Hey, what is up?
My voice sounds a little weird right now.
I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't.
I don't know. It sounds like a vacuum almost.
It doesn't sound normal.
I don't know.
I don't know why.
Sounds like a vacuum. It could be because of the, maybe that one?
Maybe.
Maybe it's loud?
Maybe.
Too loud, I guess?
Oh, yeah. Turn that down a little bit.
All right.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
How about now?
There you go.
There we go.
I think.
That's
better.
better.
All right. It was a little loud. So, I can only hear myself so much, you know what I'm saying?
There you go.
I'm not really interested in hearing myself talk. I can already hear myself internally. I don't want to hear it externally.
I hear you.
Anyway, we're doing the Couch Live a little bit earlier than normal, Trinity. A little bit.
Not for everybody.
Well, that's true.
If you're watching this on the podcast or something, it's going to be on time.
Right. If you're watching it on YouTube, listening to the podcast, you like how I changed that up because you call everything podcast? You're probably right because you are a millennial. Now that we know that you are a millennial, you're probably right.
Depends on which website you go to, I guess.
But
yes.
To me, a podcast is audio and YouTube is visual. But Trinity, being the millennial he is, says podcasts are visual and audio, and maybe you're right.
Although I like how I get credit for it. However, all I did was merely read the definition of podcast, so I didn't really create that definition.
I know,
I'm not sure if I would call it mine.
Well,
but I will take credit if you want. Like, yes, I defined what podcast means.
Well, much like Democrats and Republicans, I think you get your news source from the millennial news source. In other words, you go to where millennials are supposed to read.
The dictionary?
No. No, I think Mark Zuckerberg knows exactly who and what you are. And,
sure.
And what's that other dude from Microsoft and all the dudes from Apple? What are their names?
I don't know.
Bill Gates and what's the Apple guy that was there? Whatever.
Yeah, I know.
They all know who you are, that you're a millennial. And so whenever you search, it takes you to millennial sites.
Hey, if I'm going to be a millennial, though, I'm going to live it up. I'm going to start acting like a millennial then. I'm going to start being a little crybaby.
You going to go live with your mom?
I'm going to be offended with that. Oh, I can't do that. No. No, man. I moved out at 17, man. I haven't looked back since, so I'm good.
You're going to snowflake up? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm going to be offended by I'm offended right now. I don't know why, but I just am. It feels like the right thing to be.
Well, the good thing is you're married to a Generation Xer.
No, according to the other website, she's a millennial as well.
Nah, she's an Xer like me. She's an Xer.
Depends on which website you go off of.
Whatever.
I'm sure I can find a website where you're millennial too.
Oh God, no! You're not. If you could find 1969,
or you know what? No, I bet you I can find a website where you're actually.
I'm not a boomer.
A boomer.
You'll never find a 69.
Mission
taken. All right, you want to do a Zoe bet?
No, I'm not dumb. But I think it would be hilarious if I could find any website out there that would list you as a boomer.
You're not going to find me listed as a boomer anywhere.
Oh, challenge accepted.
Anyway, all right, everybody, so let's get started. This show is brought to you by, one of our sponsors rebranded.
Did they, though? Because I got an email from them yesterday that didn't have the rebranding on it.
Well, I mean, that's just that person's fault, whoever sent out that email.
Ooh.
Yep, somebody's in trouble. But they are now known as Retreat Behavioral Health. So thank you, Retreat Behavioral Health, for being part of the program, as well as Journey Pure. Both are great facilities, great treatment centers. If you or your loved one has a problem with drugs or alcohol, please make sure to look up either of one of those two is a great starting point. If they can't help you, they'll at least follow you through the process and help you get connected with who will. Another place you can go get that kind of help is with the Now Matters More Foundation. Call 833-NOW-MATTERS. That's 833-NOW-MATTERS. The number will also be at the end of this show if you didn't catch that. And then, of course, Orange County Coalition for Drug-Free Community. Thank you very much, Orange County, for being a sponsor, because it's now how many years, Trinity?
For what?
20 years. Thank you, Trinity, for listening to the show, for being part of the broadcast. I appreciate it. 20 years. 20 years of the Couch Live. We are having our anniversary. So all year, we're celebrating 20 years of the Couch Live. Angel told me you weren't a good listener, and I guess now you're proving it.
Sure.
You know, she shows up, and now all of a sudden
I'm trying to find your birthday right now. You're damn right I am.
Yeah, baby boom.
What year's your birthday again?
1969.
Okay.
Yeah, best year there ever was. 69.
Right now it's got 64.
Summer of Love.
I found up to 64.
And
I'm
apparently
getting closer.
for my family it was. No.
I'm getting closer. I found 64. It's only 5 years away.
Good luck with that.
I'm getting there. It doesn't have to be all the websites. I just need to find one. That's
You
all.
won't. You won't.
Okay.
It's too big of a difference. Too spread out. Anyway, so let's get started. So what we're talking about today is rinse and repeat, people. That's rinse and repeat. And this is for anybody that has even been able to accomplish 24 hours of sobriety, Trinity. Yes. I don't care if you only have 24 hours where you haven't used drugs and alcohol. The main objective for the day is to rinse and repeat.
Yes.
You know, so let's get started about explaining a little bit of what that means. So when I say that to you, Trinity, what immediately comes to mind?
Well, I mean, before this show topic, what immediately came to mind was washing my hair.
Who are you kidding? What hair?
Well, but when I had hair. I still have it. I'm just shaved.
No, you shaved it. You got more hair on your chin. More hair on your chin.
But no, I guess rinse and repeat just means,
Yeah.
you find something that works and you keep doing it.
Right.
I mean, I think that people overcomplicate things sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, they feel that they need to go above and beyond or do more
Right.
when they're already successful at what they're doing.
Right.
And so I think in that situation, a lot of times people just need to change their definition of success, I think. You know, change their definition of what what succeeding looks like, really. I mean,
Right.
I think sometimes, some of the individuals that I've spoken to, especially early in recovery, they have they envision like a Cialis commercial. You know what I mean? Like just run around and everything's great and wonderful and yay, we're all having fun. And if they're not having that, they feel like they're failing in some way. But in all reality, if you're sober today, and you're doing well in life and you're kind of achieving some of your goals, whatever, congratulations, you are now successful.
Right.
Like that's it. I think those are two different definitions. I think I would think that your recovery is a different set of expectations versus your goals in life. You know what I mean? Like I'd be careful intertwining those two, I think, is what I'm saying.
But okay, I like that. There's a difference between being sober and being clean, if you want to use those words still, I guess is what you're kind of saying. Though.
No, what I'm saying
there's
is...
a difference between not using...
Right, well, there's sobriety and there's recovery, right?
Right.
I'll agree with that, but I guess and once again, I'm kind of thinking on the fly here because we just started talking about it.
Yeah.
But I think that some of the people I've spoken to in doing groups, I think their definition of success and recovery isn't necessarily healthy for their recovery. What I mean is...
It's unrealistic sometimes.
Well, I think they're unrelated.
Okay.
Like, other words, being, out in public and doing all sorts of fun stuff and even achieving goals in life.
Right.
To me, that's life. That's not recovery.
Yeah.
And so I think that if you can't compare your recovery to life.
Right.
Those are two different things. Your recovery is your recovery. Are you clean? Are you sober? Are you doing the steps? Are you maintaining sobriety?
Right.
You are now successful.
Yeah. Are you putting the effort out?
Yeah. That is completely different than, am I achieving my goals in life? Am I where I want to be? Am I where I want to be? That's a question everybody has, whether you're in sobriety or not.
Right.
And so you're not immune to that just because you're in recovery.
Yes.
And so I think that people sometimes confuse their goals in life with their success or failure in recovery.
Right.
And I think that's a dangerous slope because then you can start feeling like you're not doing enough when in all reality, you are. Like, you're successful in your recovery.
Right.
Now, I do believe one can help the other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think if you're successful in your recovery, that will help you achieve goals in life.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're necessarily connected in that way.
Yeah.
And so the rinse and repeat to me, I think, is speaking on strictly recovery terms. If you're working the steps, if you're putting the effort, if you're doing your thing,
Yeah.
if you're clean, if you're sober, if you're progressing on that path,
Yeah.
then it's obviously working for you, and keep doing it.
Right.
And so on the strictest of definitions, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, see, this is Trinity, this is why I like you, man. Because on the major topics, we agree.
Yeah.
Where we disagree is when you just go off the left field in your millennial world, and then that's when
I knew that was coming.
Anyway, no, I agree. All right, so that's a big deal to talk about. I think it's important to really stress that fact, because sometimes people are doing well in not using drugs or alcohol.
Yeah.
They're going to their meetings, they're going to their steps, they're working on themselves, they're developing, but sometimes maybe the relationship just isn't mending the way you'd wished it would, or professionally you're not where you'd like to be. Yeah. Maybe you're not making the money you think you deserve, or feel that or maybe feel that you're not making the money you used to, maybe even.
Right.
And all that is a recovery process of other types. I agree. It's a recovery process, meaning there's other damage that was created by the drugs and alcohol use.
Yeah.
One is your motivation for education. The other is your success within your employment. Another one is your connectivity with people, interpersonal, even personal. So all those things are in repair, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not doing well in the substance abuse or the addiction recovery part. It just means that in your overall life recovery, all of us are in recovery at that point then.
Exactly.
Because we've all made errors or decisions in our life that we're recovering from.
Yeah.
You know, whether you lied and now you're forever in recovery of that lie, if you want to use that. Which is why, to be honest with you, Trinity, I think in 2019 I want to change a word, and I do it sometimes. So I'm inconsistent, and I want to get more consistent with not using the word recovery, because I really don't like the word, to be honest with you.
Recovery?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the word, and not because it means anything negative, but more because it's not really true to what I'm doing. I think I'm in remission.
That's the word I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I like that word better because it makes it sound more diseasey.
It's true.
Yeah.
I'm in remission. In other words, all right, now that the disease is in remission, I have to live life.
Yeah.
I have to do all the things that everybody else has to do. And just because being in remission from a disease like addiction, what that means to me is that I have I guess a set way that I could do things. In other words, I have a little plan. This is how I get up in the morning.
Right.
This is how I deal with the day. These are the people that I interact with or phone call or talk to, or this is how I deal with problems. These are my problem-solving techniques that I've learned.
Right.
And then this is how I deal with nighttime and put closure on the full day, and this is how I reevaluate it for the next day. I think that recovery plan, what we would call a recovery plan, to me is a life plan for everybody.
Yeah,
you know,
well, I think
to be honest,
I think addiction is really the only disease that people make those connections, right? Like if you're recovering or you're in remission or however you want to define it,
right,
with like cancer,
right,
you strictly define that whether is the cancer here or is the cancer not here.
Yeah, you don't equate it to your relationship or to your job.
My relationship's still failing. It must be the cancer. Like you don't make that connection, and so I think that if we're going to treat addiction as a disease, then you got to treat it like a disease.
Right.
Like it's not responsible for the things around you. You know what I mean? Like your success or failure in certain things.
Right.
Obviously, if you're in active use, it can be because this makes you make poor decisions.
Well, it's because we treat it medical when it suits our purpose.
Yeah.
You know, it's like people in my own business of helping others. It's like we use the word, well, it's a disease and it's medical when it suits our purpose. But when we want to call somebody on their shiza, you know, and they're not doing stuff all well, then all of a sudden it's a behavioral thing.
Yeah.
You're not going to enough meetings.
Exactly.
You're not doing. You know, we start focusing on things that are more behavioral, more about choices, about your choices.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, don't expect new results. You're doing the same stuff. Look at what you're doing. So at that point, we're not necessarily treating it so much medically.
Well, and the other thing that comes to mind is the other thing I hear a lot when it comes to what people feel as success or failure is other people's reactions.
Right.
And that's the things, you can't control that. Like you mentioned it earlier to make me think of it. I had a lot of individuals when we were doing the groups and whatnot that kind of they put a lot of weight on their family's reaction to where they're at now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, a lot of times it was, well, they still treat me like an addict, so what's the point?
Right.
Or, all these other things. And I don't think you can put so much weight on them because they're on their own recovery. They're in their own remission. They have to deal with, they're on their own timeline of dealing with everything that just happened, and you can't control their timeline. You can't control where they're at. And so if your family still looks at you like an addict, that has no indication of where you're at in your recovery. Like, that's on them. That's where they're at in their own recovery, if you want to call it that.
And I would actually, I would venture to say that the family is more in recovery than you are.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that just got hit. They didn't do it. And it got boom, it hit them, and then, that now they're kind of in recovery from whatever just happened in their life. Whereas you're in remission, and now what you're doing is in a rebuilding process.
Exactly.
And an educational process within yourself, trying to find out, okay, this is the disease I suffer from, therefore it's going to affect my thinking, my judgment, my attitude. It's going to affect the way I interact with the world. It's going to affect the way I learn things from now on, and the way I go about things from now on. I got to be a little bit more self-conscious and a little bit more aware of how I proceed.
Yeah.
So that's more of an educational process, and that's a learning, whereas the family really is in recovery because a bomb just hit in their neighborhood, in their home, and now they're still hearing ringing in the ears.
Yeah. Well, and like I the things that I would always try to get them to understand, like when they were when they feel that they weren't doing, it's basically they owned it in the sense of saying, I'm not doing enough because my family still views me that way, so I'm failing in my recovery. No, you're not. You're doing just fine.
Right.
But what they had to remember is, like, your family couldn't leave their job and their whole, like, system to go away for 30 days and work on themselves.
Right.
They still had to make it work. They still had to go to work. They still had to pay bills and try to figure out a way of dealing with everything that they just went through. And so it's going to take them longer. They're on their own timeline.
Yeah.
Much in the same way you were on your own timeline.
Yeah.
Because you didn't, a lot of times you didn't, jump into rehab day one. I mean, things had to happen, and maybe this is your 5th rehab. Who knows? I mean, you run your own timeline. Well, they are too. And there's no book that says this is when it should happen. They deal with it on their own terms. So you can't connect your success or failure in recovery to their responses, is what I'm saying.
And that's really its own show. The loving them where they're at and their own recovery. That's a heavy part of it. But even for them, it's rinse and repeat. It's like, listen, you get up one day, just love that person again. It's your loved one, your family member. If today they're not using, a lot of family are constantly in fear of, well, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Yeah. They're going to use again. Oh, my God, he went out. He hasn't been out in a long time. Now that he went out, I'm afraid who he's going to run into. Oh, my God, he stayed after midnight. Where did you hang out? Who did you, what did you do last night? And all these questions. There's a lot of fear attached to being a loved one of a person that has suffered such a disease.
You can't blame them. So you can't blame them for having those concerns.
Oh, God, no.
I mean, if they've dealt with it all along. Yeah. But I think that at that point, that's where I think the family needs to be educated as well as to what recovery should look like and what the definitions are. I mean, I think they need to be brought into the fold, and I think some facilities I think do a great job in doing that. I think was Al-Anon is another like group or whatever that does that kind of stuff. But I think other ones not so much. I think some places out there don't include the family as much as they could.
Right.
And I think that's a shame in some instances because I really do believe that the family needs to be educated on it because I think that if your family still looks at it as a behavioral thing, God, that's going to be hard to come home to. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you've been gone this whole time working on yourself and your family wants to love and support you, but they view recovery as, okay, we're going to get our old son or daughter back and you're going to be perfect. Right. And then when you come back and you're less than perfect, then they start thinking, well, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. That's got to be hard to come home to, man.
And that's what causes a lot of the stress, to be honest with you. Is not only am I evaluating myself and I'm looking at me and I'm my own worst judge, right? I'm my own worst enemy, right?
Absolutely.
But that's normal. That's human nature. You should be. You should be your heaviest critic.
Exactly.
Because when you're full of crap. You know when you lied. I mean, you
Pretty
better.
Much.
If you didn't know when you lied, then you have another disorder that we could talk about on another show. You got a personality disorder happening, some other mental health stuff going on. But what we're talking about is that all you can do is put the next foot forward, do the next right thing. Don't focus so much on the entire world automatically accepting you for where you're at today, because that's not even the reality in a person that didn't have a substance abuse issue. I mean, there's people out there that have never had this disease of addiction and are dealing with same insecurities that you may be dealing with.
Of course.
Same fears that you're dealing with. Same anxieties and sadness or depression and losses that you're dealing with. Same frustrations about maybe they don't feel like where they are at, where they should be either relationship-wise or professionally that you're dealing with. In other words, your problems are life problems.
Exactly.
They're
normal.
Yeah, all roads don't go back to your disease. Now, your disease does affect all those things. Yes. Don't get me wrong. When you're in the midst of your disease, and your disease is the one managing your decisions in your daily, day-to-day operations, it affects all those things.
Of course.
However, there is still a you. There's still a you that's outside of that. Don't just be defined by your disease, man, is what I'm saying. I think that's really what I'm saying today.
Yeah,
right?
I
That's
agree.
kind of what I'm saying, is don't be defined by this illness so greatly that you lose sight that you're actually a human being. You're more like other people than you think. Remember when you got offended, I think, early on coming into this business, that you said that that in some meetings you were referred to as a normie?
Oh, it was that guy, the old school dude, down there. But he was saying that it was like a negative thing. He was saying almost like looking down on me, like I was the bad one because I was a normie. I'm like, what? Like, hold up, bro. Like, I didn't. Yeah, I remember that one.
So how does that feel from an outsider's perspective?
Well, I mean, the Dharma guy in me understood where he was coming from,
right?
But the egotistical man inside of me was like, I had a lot of insults I had in my head. I was like, hold up, bro.
Right.
Like, but I mean, I understood where it come from. I mean, that's I think he's the quintessential individual that identifies with his disease. Like, I think. From what I don't know him that well, so this is all conjecture, if you will. Right. But I think that he strikes me as the type of individual that I've seen a lot that identifies around his disease, and if you were to take that from him, he's got nothing anymore. Yeah. Like, his whole life is built up around being that guy, and that's where he gets his confidence. That's where he, it's almost like a crutch in a sense. And far be it from me to criticize that. Right. I mean, if that's what helps keep him sober,
right,
and keeps him on the straight and narrow,
right.
Who am I to tell him that that's not a positive thing? Not to mention, I guarantee you that guy right there is needed, and he's doing a lot of great work. Because if I was new in recovery and I met that guy, at least to keep me on the path initially, I think that would be very beneficial for me.
Right.
Having said that, for my own personality, had I been in recovery for like a year or so, I wouldn't want to interact with that guy anymore because I'd want to move on. Like, I think we've talked about this before. I've had the privilege, I guess, of meeting so many different people in so many different levels of recovery, right? Like, I've met people who are brand new in it, people who are still using it, people who've got like 20, 30 years, Right. And I've seen all the different flavors that I've been accustomed to or seen. Mm-hmm. My favorite one, I would have to say, would be yourself and some of the other people that you've introduced me to that have like 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I like them, once again, this is coming from an outsider's perspective.
Right.
It doesn't feel like there's a third person in the room with us. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like just two people hanging out. To where some of the other individuals, it feels like there's just addiction just sitting in the room with me. It's kind of uncomfortable at times. It's kind of like, you don't know what to say to that person. You don't know how to interact. You don't know what to say. You feel very self-conscious in like, like, should I have, like, okay, perfect example. Whenever we've gone out, whatever, I don't really drink anymore. Right. That's just not really part of my lifestyle.
Right.
But I feel like around you, I could if I wanted to, and it wouldn't really be a big deal. Like, I feel like you're just another person that I'm hanging out. Sometimes I forget that you're even in recovery.
Yeah.
To whereas,
as long as I don't forget, we're good.
Exactly. But then there's other individuals that I hang out with that I'm like, whoa,
right.
man, I don't even want to wear a shirt with a beer on it. You know what I mean? Because you never know. And that's uncomfortable at times because it's almost like, in a sense, it's almost like hanging out with somebody who's in remission from cancer and all they talk about is their cancer all the time.
Yeah.
It's very depressing. It's very like, whoa, like, did you have life before the cancer? I mean, dude, like, did you really?
Well, it's when you're not comfortable with who you are, you tend to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not fully comfortable with being gay, for instance,
right,
you tend to be a little bit more flamboyant about it, right? If you're not comfortable with being an addict, you tend to let everybody know, hey, I'm an addict, I'm in recovery. You know what I mean? Like,
that's your badge now.
That's your badge. That's because that's how you identify yourself.
Yeah.
Because you haven't really worked on other parts of you that, listen, I could care less, about that. That's just a piece of you. There's a lot more to you I want to know about.
Well, that's not you. That's something you do.
Yeah.
That's not you.
Right.
You isn't learned behavior. You is the core. You is your intentions in life and things of that nature.
Yeah.
All the other things that you just mentioned are things that we do. That's not who we are.
Right. There's a lot more to you, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to you out there. Those of you that are listening or watching this or something, there's a lot more to you than this disease. Don't let this disease define you so greatly that you lose sight that underneath all that, you're not recovering back to where you were, because where you were probably wasn't great in the first place because you left there.
Yeah,
you left there
grow.
Probably for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why the substances you used to walk away from there, or this disease used, were probably working for a while because you needed to get away from wherever you were in your head or in your family or your life or whatever it was. However, when you're in remission from this and you've already washed, right? You already washed it off, like we said earlier. You wash it off. Now you're just rinsing and repeating. You're doing it over and over again. You're waking up every day.
Repetition.
And you're finding a new way to enjoy this life and experience it and have new adventures in your life and appreciate it. Because the day we stop appreciating it, we all lean towards maladaptive behaviors.
Sure.
We all take more risks when we're not happy. You know, you don't think there's people out there so unhappy with their employment. Like, I just met some at the damn Walmart. You know what I mean? Unhappy with their life or their work that they try to throw it on me.
Right.
You know what I mean? With their negativity or the way they behave.
Absolutely.
There's people unhappy in their relationships out there, so they're constantly seeking other relationships.
Sure.
Other connectivities. It's like, listen, understand, this is a daily process that you're going to live through, but it doesn't mean that it has to just overwhelm you with this heavy burden of, I have to call myself an addict on a daily basis for me not to forget it, for me to move forward. No, you don't.
Yeah, I don't like that.
No, you don't. That is something that we do within the confines of a meeting so that we all can relate within that meeting. But as we walk out in life, I don't do that. I don't walk around my whole life saying that. But it's just like if I go to a church on that day, then I am whatever I am in that church for that day. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean I go home and I continue to say, oh, by the way.
It is.
You have to live life like as a person within a larger grouping of people, I guess is what I'm saying. Because if you're not connecting with people outside of just those that are with this disease, you're missing out on a lot of cool people.
Of course.
You know what I mean? If you're afraid to hang out with other people because they drink or they use or they're not in recovery, they can't possibly understand you. Well, listen, I hang out with a lot of people that have been traumatized in ways that I've never been traumatized.
Right.
I'm still friends with them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I've never really liked that whole, my name is such and such and I'm an addict. Like, I get it. Like,
don't get us in trouble with all the A and
but
NA
I get
people.
it in the like you just pointed. I think you said it best when you said in the confines of that room.
Right.
In that moment, that's the protocol, and I get that.
Yeah.
But when on the outside, when you still introduce yourself that way, it almost instantly. First of all, to me, anyways, like if we were at a, because I've heard people do it before.
Right.
When we were at like an Orange County meeting or something like that, somebody will step up and say, "Hey, my name is such and such, and I'm this," and then they'll start in with whatever point they were trying to make.
Right.
But to me, when you do that, you removed now you're nothing but that to me. Like, that's all I hear.
Right.
You put that up, and now you basically just put this wall to where all I hear now is I'm an addict. I didn't hear anything else you just said but that.
And there's an us and them kind of thing.
Yeah, and so and not only that, but you're also taking your personality out of it. Like, you're no longer I'm me. Like, I'm I'm multifaceted.
Yeah.
And just like when I meet people, I don't tell. Dude, I barely tell anybody that I'm a Buddhist because I don't think it's not relevant. You know what I mean? It's relevant on Dharma time, but it's not relevant. When I go to, later on, my wife wants to go to Walmart. I'm not going to go up to the cashier. I'm like, hey, how you doing?
Walmart again. They better pay me.
Exactly. But I'm not going to walk up to the cashier and be like, hey, how you doing? I'm a Buddhist.
Right.
Like, I'm just not going to do that.
Why not?
Because there's no point. It's unnecessary, right? Like, it's not pertinent.
Right.
Having said that, if I were going to run a group and I'm trying to teach people about it, then yes, I would absolutely let them know.
Exactly. That's my point.
And so
when it's relevant.
Yeah, and I think the same thing with addiction is you're being an addict or in recovery, as important as it is to you, it's not relevant to the rest of society. Like, it really doesn't matter. Like, don't make it matter, is what I'm saying. Like, it's kind of like those people who don't want to be seen at a gym or something like that, so they do all sorts of crazy stuff to not be seen, but you're actually bringing more attention to yourself than if you would just show up and do what you got to do. Like, nobody cares, is what I'm saying. Nobody cares. And don't make them care. Don't make it an issue. And there's more to you than your recovery, your addiction.
And I think that's why on a later show we're going to have to do a show, recovery, or remission, and we're going to have to do a show that kind of identifies, the recovery process a little bit more in relation to being a survivor.
Right.
I am a survivor of a disease that wanted to kill me, and we'll get deeper into that at a later date. But that being a survivor means I whipped your damn ass. Now I can walk away from this and I can go do something else.
Yeah.
I don't have to sit there standing over you. Hey, I whipped your ass, right? Hey, I whipped your ass, right? Hey, I whipped your ass, right? I don't have to keep on doing that. I know I whipped addiction right now, but I also know that if I get too cocky,
come back.
Yeah.
Don't let the hubris get you.
Yeah, because look, I know the disease of addiction is the kind like you ever fight that person, because I was that other person, right? My brother used to beat me up, right?
You gotta beat him every day.
Dude, my brother would beat the crap out of me, and as soon as he turned around, I stood up like Freddy Krueger, or like what's the other one? The one from Friday the 13th, Jason.
Yeah.
I stood up like Jason. I just like, is that all you got?
Yeah.
Like a dummy. Like a dummy. And then so my brother would have to beat me again. But the point is that's how this disease is, and that's also how cancer is, though. That's how
most
diabetes
are.
are. That's how terminal illnesses tend to be.
Yeah,
that's how these types of disease tend to be. If you ignore them and you violate the rules of the remission process, which is, okay, now stay away from the things that actually cause it.
Yeah.
Cause it to be a little greater, to come out of remission.
Yeah, you got to adapt to the new world.
Yeah, you can't be diabetic and go eat sugar cookies all day long.
But even then, like, and I don't want to sound like we're just, this is an addiction show, obviously. So, we're not picking. I wouldn't want to be around anybody that every 2 minutes is like, oh, I've got diabetes. Like, great, bro. Like, I'm talking about where we're gonna go watch the show. I don't care if you get diabetes, bro. Like, it's the same concept. You're more than the sum of your parts, I guess. But but I agree with you.
Yeah, that's when I sucks for you, and I'm going to eat my chocolate chip cookie. Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much.
Oh, that sucks. So does that mean you're not going to buy any Girl Scout cookies? Is that what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
But no, I agree. I do. I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking that myself. I was going to say is we're not trying to say that you should be cocky and be like, oh, I got this nailed, and not do your work anymore.
No.
That's a bad move.
No.
But you should have a healthy respect for it,
and
you should be aware of it, and you should definitely, once again, rinse and repeat.
That's right.
I think that's what we're saying.
Rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat. Just
that's it.
If you've done it and it's working, then kind of put that on the back burner and just keep doing what you're doing and live life.
And here's the thing: if it's not where, let's say life is just not where you wanted to be. You know what I mean? There are promises in this whole thing, right? And I remember hearing the promises and stuff like that in the rooms and being like, okay, when am I going to get this stuff? If it's not exactly where it needs to be. Right. Do an evaluation process. That's the beautiful thing about
it might not be addiction.
That's the beautiful thing about facing death. Yeah. When you face death, you are able to now sit back and go like, okay, it doesn't matter how bad today is. I have another opportunity at this. So let me reevaluate the situation. If I'm not where I want to be, let me reevaluate, maybe change some things up. Because reservations are things that all humans have, not just people with the disease of addiction. All humans have some sort of reservations that's kind of keeping them from moving forward sometimes in life. Right. All humans have some sort of fears or insecurities that keep them from moving forward in their life. Yeah. So, but when you evaluate on a regular basis, and I prefer to evaluate pretty consistently, if not on a daily, at least every other day or something like that. I mean, because by doing so, you keep your house in order and keep your house clean. Now, I want to say that a little differently, because people hear keeping your house in order and you start forgetting what that really means. Here's what it means. Listen, I'm a person that if I just keep on putting stuff in a place, and that other room over there, the other office over there is proof of that. If I just keep on not paying attention where I gotta arrange things in here, it gets out of hand and out of control. And pretty soon it's so messy that I don't even want to start. Because it's just too messy. I don't even know where to start. So it's easier to forget it, walk away from it. Right. It could be your car. It could be a certain place in your house. It could be your whole house. It could be a room in your house. It could be your garage. It could be your storage unit, whatever. Where if you keep putting stuff there, but you don't evaluate, what do I still need? Where does it really need to go? And kind of clean it up, it just gets out of control, and you become a hoarder of whatever, right?
Absolutely.
You look like a hoarder. That happens inside our heads. That happens inside our soul. If you don't rearrange, do I still need this? Do I not need this? Where am I communicating with everybody I want to communicate in my life? Yeah. Are there people that I haven't connected to in a while? Are there things that I haven't done in a while that, for fun for myself? You know what? I just noticed I haven't kayaked in a while, and I really love kayaking. It makes me feel good. Well, I better make a trip. I better plan a kayaking adventure. very soon because I haven't done that. I haven't hiked in a while. I need to do that. You know what? My wife and I, we haven't had dinner in a while together. We haven't gone out, just us two. We need to do, all those little things that kind of make you appreciate who you are, give you little pleasure impulses per second, that all added up together is exactly why the remission process stays, why you stay in remission and you don't go back to disease.
Well, I mean, and you actually reminded me of a thing that I used to say when I was doing some of the groups with people that was, at first, it was kind of controversial to some of them.
Yeah.
But I told them that from my perspective, I think that it was almost, in a roundabout way, kind of a good thing for some of them. Because I don't know of any other people other than individuals going through recovery or maybe some crazy...
We're using remission in here now.
Remission, excuse me.
We're done. This show's done using the word recovery actually, as much as possible.
To be more specific, those in rehab, I will say.
All right. That word still applies.
Yeah. Well, what I'm getting at is aside from some uber spiritual religious guy who goes on retreats and things of that nature, I don't know of anybody I've met in my life that takes upwards of 30 days sometimes to just work on themselves. And it's in a room surrounded by people who want nothing to do but to help that person succeed. That doesn't happen very often, And so one of the things I always thought was very unique and very interesting was, individuals going through recovery, if they're able to really commit to the process in remission, if they're able to really commit to the process in rehab and really kind of start utilizing all those tools, dude, they've got tools that are going to help them in life, not just remission. You got life tools now. You got access to every tool that everybody needs, but nobody gets.
Right.
There's everybody. When I first got introduced to this process and the 12 steps and stuff, because I didn't know any of the steps. I mean, I heard the stuff you see on TV, first step, maybe you have a problem, that kind of stuff. But when I really started looking further into it, I was like, holy cow! This is a blueprint for life.
Right.
Right. Everybody should go through this.
Yeah.
But the problem is they don't. Unless they go in, unless they have a situation, addiction or something like that. Right. The average Joe just doesn't do that.
Yeah, and you know what? You bring up a great point, Trinity, because there's three main things that when a person goes through hardcore stuff, hope, faith, and perseverance are really huge.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to learn things, and I'll add patience to that. It's really hard to learn hope, faith, perseverance, patience, without experiencing some sort of hardcore situation. Which is like when you're around a veteran of war, there's just a level of comfort that they're able to have in very difficult situations.
Yeah, exactly.
That just exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's because, they're not going to stress over, oh my God, I got this little problem, and then freak out about it. It's like, it's really not a freak out.
I've been in the war, bro.
Yeah, that doesn't compare. And so it allows us to get out of being dramatic and get out of being the center of attention for everything that happens and get out of making excuses for the world and instead focus on the skills that allowed us to be in remission in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I beat something that a lot of people die from.
Well, and you have
I'm
the skills.
I'm a badass. It's like me being the strongest, fastest swimmer.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I made it here. I mean, the fact that I'm living in the first place proves that I knew how to walk across the street without getting hit. God, I say that, and I actually had a cousin that died of that.
Oh, gosh.
Damn. Pepe Luis, man, my cousin, man. He got hit by a car. It's like, damn, Pepe Luis. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be look at, dude, we walk across streets. Yeah, you failed, dude. For 40-something years, you walk across the street right, and then at 40-something years old, you walk across wrong.
Your head and forgot.
You know what I mean? And it's not to make fun of it other than just say, listen, this is a hard world.
Yeah.
You gotta know how to walk across the street every day, not just at 5 years old. You got to know how to look both ways all your life. You got to know how to not pick a fight with the wrong person all your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a daily grind. So you take those skills that you learned while you were deling with disease and go like, dude, I've learned how to be in some tough situations and get out of it and live and survive.
Well, they have the skills. They were taught. Literally, when I really got into some of this stuff and I started kind of looking how the therapy works and the different things that they do, I was like, holy cow. Yeah. Not to be facetious here, but it kind of made me want to have addiction real quick because I can get this help. You know what I mean? I was like, holy cow, you guys have all this help and you have all these skills. Like when you get out, you apply that exact same process to anything in your life, and you're going to come out better at the end of it.
Because what normal average Joe out there gets, and when I say hit the knees, just understand that means something different for everybody, all right? But just understand all that means is basically a refocus and appreciation for however you feel like you were created or gave you this opportunity, okay? So you hit your knees in your morning, you make your plan, you go do it, you go live it the best you can, right? You focus on how many humans are actually focused on my behavior affects you, and because my behavior affecting you is going to make me feel bad about myself later, I got to do the right thing so it doesn't make me feel bad about myself later. Therefore, it doesn't give fuel to the thing that I'm fighting in the first place. So what human being is constantly evaluating their behavior and at the end of the day, evaluating it and putting closure on it so it doesn't go into the next day. Yeah. What normal average human being has a daily plan to evaluate their behavior and attitude and goals and make sure that they're climbing every day?
It's so healthy. It's ridiculous.
So that's why the steps do apply to everybody, not just people that have suffered this disease of addiction, but if you're walking around and you're constantly separating yourself from other human beings and acting like you're superior because you're in recovery, like I know something because I'm in recovery, that's like me walking around and says I'm better than you because I'm Mexican. Now, I know because I'm Mexican I'm better than you, but I shouldn't say it.
And we call Donald.
I'm kidding. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
in other words, if you go around putting in people's face that because I'm this, somehow I'm better than.
Oh, you're opening yourself up to a whole lot of.
Not only that, but then that's not really the right thing to do to your fellow man.
No.
Because if it feels so good to be in it, then make it attractive. Make it attractive.
Promotion rather than attraction, right?
Attraction rather than promotion.
Or
it's the opposite.
My bad.
But you had it in your mind, right?
Yeah. Well, because I had another thought that I was going to say, and that was what I like most about it. I guess the whole process is the one thing you and I are always talking about, and we agree on this. And I think a lot of people really, when they're talking about the disease of addiction and anything for that matter, the disease of addiction, the school shootings, like all the quote unquote issues that are making frontline these days, to me, and I already know you agree with me on this. There's an underlying cause between all of it, and it's not access to drugs. It's not this. It's coping skills, pain. Like they don't know how to deal with pain.
Right.
And what I love,
it didn't get developed.
Correct. And so what I love most about the 12 steps, it's doing that. It's teaching you coping skills. It's teaching you how to deal with the complexities of life in a way that's going to be beneficial to you.
Yeah, and I think you said it real good right there. That last part Trinity said, I want to make sure you guys understood what he's saying. He's not saying that you don't have coping skills. What he's saying is the ones that you latched onto or the ones that worked for whatever you were dealing with initially in your life are not sustainable.
No.
So for let's say you were being beat by a parent. Let's say you were being physically beat by a parent. Right. Therefore, your only way to escape, because you had to live there, you had to be in the room, your only way to escape is to kind of like drink or get high, so you weren't even thinking about it.
Sure.
Okay, now that probably was the best coping skill you could find at that moment. And it probably worked. And I'm not saying it didn't work. However, it wasn't sustainable. No. It wasn't sustainable for the person you wanted to be later on in your life. It wasn't sustainable for the person that wanted to get out and build their own life and not become the same individual that they were running from.
Yeah.
So then what you find yourself is now you're here in your 20s and 30s, you haven't had any really good relationships, you have these trust issues, you can't really bond with another person, you never really saw a healthy relationship, so you don't even know how to have one. Now you're having difficulties in all these personal relationships, so then you start drinking more heavily, now you become the same aggressor that you hid from.
Yep, there's a cycle.
And then that really hurts your feelings, and it really hurts your head because now you know, oh my God, I just became my father. And now you're in more pain. Now internally, you have that self-hate because you became the one person in your life that you never wanted to become.
Yep.
And then all it takes is the one person that you don't want to hear say it and says, you're just like your father, and then boom.
Boom. Yep, exactly.
Then I'm going to be it.
Yeah.
And then self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah. So I just gave you one example of how a coping skill was not really a coping skill; it was an escape.
Well, it was a reaction as opposed to a response.
Yeah,
But
as a little kid, you don't
know any better. Of course.
Yeah, you don't know.
Well, I mean, I went through my own thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I had that abusive childhood, and my response was to be disconnected.
Yeah.
Well, disconnected is great when you're a little kid and you're getting your butt kicked.
Yeah.
It's not so great when you're trying to build a relationship with people.
Right.
I mean, connection's really important.
So is that why you got with Angel, so she could kick your butt? I mean, you're kind of masochistic that way? I see that. That's why
I got my shirt on.
She beats me, and it's aimed right at her.
It is.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, she's actually sitting.
I always
have
to walk to her right.
There's no microphone.
That's part of the rule. But no, like I just think that it's it's like a small sampling of what everybody needs, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but the sad part about it is, I think there's only like you pointed out, there's only a select few that really get it.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the ones who are younger who had parents that got it and understood it and implemented in their kids. Then you have people who are struggling with addiction who go into rehab to get it.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other people who experience some sort of pain or trauma that have to go into counseling for whatever reason, and then they get it there.
Right.
But then you got millions of other people who all need it as well, but because nothing major happened, they just kind of have to figure it out, and they make mistake after mistake after, not realizing that it's just your way of thinking. It's your process. If you were to change that process up a little bit, everything changes. But they don't get that.
You weren't forced to find another way.
Yeah. And
disease forces you to find another way.
Exactly. Well, pain, disease, trauma, all that stuff forces you to find something.
Listen, it's not a secret that if you go look at people that are like really big, there's a lot of people that are seriously built up, in the gym. A lot of those people were picked on. A great number of people that focus a lot of energy on building up muscle and building up strength and being powerful in the UFC, boxing. A lot of the people were physically abused as kids. I mean, that was an internal drive to say never again.
Yeah.
Never again. Now, here's an example. Now, in the ring or in the gym, it applies. It works.
Yeah.
But if they take that same level of aggression and take it home,
it doesn't work so much.
It doesn't work, which is why I'm saying that maybe in the rooms when you're talking or when you're dealing with another person that needs help, it's good to identify however you want to identify.
Yeah.
But when you leave it in the gym.
Yep.
Leave it at the meeting. What you don't leave at the meeting are the positive things and feeling good about yourself and say, man, I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that with me. But calling myself diseased when I walk out, I'm not doing that.
No.
It's not going to happen. You don't have to.
And then if you do the first half, if you walk out saying I'm a survivor and I'm working on it, congratulations, it's working for you.
Yeah.
Like, keep doing it. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and if it's not working, wash again.
Yeah. If it's not working, reevaluate.
Yeah.
You have the skill set. You have the tools.
Yeah.
Just use them.
That's it. It's really a simple program and a simple process, because if you can make 24 hours, you really can make more.
Yeah.
You really can make more. You can multiply that. You may need to change some things, and you're going to hear a lot of recommendations throughout your years of what things you can change. You're going to take what you want, and you're going to not do the things that you don't want. I personally recommend you do them all initially.
Right.
You have nothing to lose initially, because you wouldn't be asking me if things were going great for you. So if you're going to ask me, I'm going to tell you change everything initially. You can always bring things back. For instance, I'm going to give you an example of a non-disease related thing that I myself changed, and then when I realized I could bring it back, I did. Now, here, Tabasco sauce, spicy stuff.
I'm gonna say you didn't get rid of that. That's still there.
No. But there were when I got the ulcer, when I got diagnosed with the ulcers back when I was 17 years old, I ignored it. 19 years old, ignored it. Full in pain. I mean, bro, they were in my esophagus. I had these little tiny holes or something. I don't know what the hell that was, man. They kept diagnosing me with all kinds of little things and try to explain to me what all this meant and giving me all kinds of medication to give me the Band-Aid, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, I just kept eating things and doing things that were destructive to right here at the esophagus, right at the point where what do you call that reflux?
Yeah, that's reflux stuff.
Right there.
Right.
So I was damaging it, right? So finally, I met with this physician. The physician says, elevate the bed and stop eating blah, blah, blah. And I asked him point blank, you mean forever? Because I'm thinking like drugs and alcohol, right? Because like they were telling me I have to quit that forever. He goes, well, I mean, you can if you want, unless you want it to return. And I'm thinking, okay, I like that answer. That was different because, maybe I can do that. So I quit spicy food for a while. I just quit.
Sure.
And it was hard, but, if you can quit cocaine, you can quit just about anything, right? So
sure.
If you can quit hustling, you can quit about anything. If I can go to work for a living for somebody that's going to take out FICA, I can do just about anything. So I go. And I do that. I elevate the bed. Luckily, Dana, thank you very much for allowing me to make you uncomfortable. For that,
you legit elevated your bed?
I elevated my bed.
Interesting.
So she had to sleep on a bed that was slightly elevated, with a 4x4 that I put underneath, and that's just the way we were going to sleep for a while. And man, let me tell you something. I stopped taking the medication. My esophagus healed up. My stomach healed up. Stopped having issues. It took years, but finally, I remember the day where I first said, being the good little dope fiend that I have been in the past, I said, can I try this again?
Just a little bit more.
And luckily, I've been able to now eat. Now, I don't eat it the same way I used to, the way I used to eat
Excessively?
it. No, I was exactly. But I proved that I was able to moderate my Tabasco usage.
Right.
I also moderated any carbonation, because back then you're having beers and stuff like that, right? Well, now it's just like, all right, if I drink any, carbonation at all, it's one a day of any carbonated beverage, no matter what it is, right? So Coke, Dr. Pepper, Sprite, it doesn't matter what flavor it is.
Right.
Even your little Celsius over there, one a day because it's carbonated.
Sure.
Boom.
Problem solved.
Problem solved.
Moderation.
Problem solved. Why, though? Why can you do that with this and not that disorder? I'll tell you why. Because that is not a disease that's it's going to continue.
I wouldn't compare carbonation to Coke either.
No. I'm talking about like ulcers and stuff. They do heal, right?
Oh, yeah.
Whereas the pathways for what addiction uses, those pathways actually don't heal. Those pathways are constantly there. So it's like a riverbed. You throw water in a riverbed, it's still going to flow along that riverbed.
Right.
That's the difference. So don't take that analogy and think, oh, well, that means I can go back to drinking again. No, Sparky.
Well, not only that, but the rewards system is way different, I would assume.
Just giving you an example of how in life you take that same energy and power that you use to defeat one thing and you could defeat another. The difference is in most things you are going to be able to go back to it. But just in this one, it's just you can if you want. You can take that risk if you want. I just don't recommend it. It's just not recommended to you. All right, so start closing up right now, Trinity. You want to remind everybody again who our sponsors were?
Well, we got, you're going to have to help me with the retreat one. It was the Retreat Behavioral Health, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, Retreat Behavioral Health.
I'm still working on the
That's their
change
new name.
there. I like it.
Congratulations.
I will say much easier to say. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So you got Retreat Behavioral Health.
Yeah.
We have Journey Pure, which I am looking forward to seeing both of them at our golf tournament coming up on April 1st. You can go to nowgolftournament.org to read more about that.
Right.
But yes, I'm looking forward to seeing both of them. We got Orange County Drug Free Coalition.
That's right.
Huge sponsor for
Thank you
us.
very much,
Always
Orange
supportive.
County. 20 years.
It's awesome.
That's our only sponsor. We've had the entire 20 years of this show.
on.
Orange County has sponsored this show.
Very cool. And then last but not least, we got the Now Matters More Foundation, which, of course, he is the founder. I'm the president. You can see more about what we do and donate if you would like at nowmattersmore.org.
Yeah.
Or if you need help navigating the system of addiction or getting help itself, you can call 833-NOW-MATTERS. That's 833-NOW-MATTERS. Right. And, yes, we do have a golf tournament coming up on April 1st. If you are in the area, please come by and join us. It is always a good time, and we're going to be at a new location this year, so looking forward to that.
And I want to remind everybody, listen, those of you on Facebook and stuff like that have birthdays, look, you can donate your birthday to cancer. That's fine. I know cancer is a killer. It kills a lot of people. You can donate it to little puppies and stuff like that. But everybody likes to donate money to puppies and stuff like that. But here's what people don't like to donate to. Living people who are suffering this disease. And so what we're going to ask you is if you have a birthday coming up, please, you can use the Now Matters More Foundation. You can donate your birthday to the Now Matters More Foundation. We use that money to actually, all 100% of the monies that we raise go to help somebody's life. All of it. None of us take any money out of the Now Matters More Foundation. So please, if you can donate your birthday to the Now Matters More Foundation, that'd be great. Another way to do it is if you buy things online. So many people purchase things online.
Yeah, man.
Smile.amazon.com. Pick the Now Matters More Foundation as your charity of choice. What happens then is nothing different in your pocket. You pay the exact same things that you pay, but Amazon then takes a portion and they match it and they send it to us. You don't have to pay a dime. So please, smile.amazon.com, pick the Now Matters More Foundation as your charity. And the other thing is, you want to figure out how to help. Listen, how do I help you, Louie? How do we do this? Trinity, Louie, we get asked all the time, how can we do something? Yes. Where I live in the middle of nowhere. Here's what you can do. You listen to these podcasts. You share the podcast. We're on everything. What, iTunes, Google Play?
Everything.
Everywhere, right? Spotify, whatever. You can find the Couch Live on all those. However you listen to podcasts, you can find the Couch Live. And you can share the YouTube segment. You know, some of you are watching this on Facebook Live right now. That's not the full edited show. That's not the way it comes out on YouTube. On YouTube, they get the whole show, the way it's really intended to be viewed and heard. So share the YouTube. Watch the YouTube. Share the YouTube. Subscribe. That's how you become part of the process. If you become part of the solution, you're actually helping. That's the way it works. And if you understand analytics at all, the more of you that register and subscribe allow other people to actually see it.
Yes.
So even if you're not sharing it, just by you subscribing, you're actually helping other people even become aware of it. So thank you all very much for that. So with that all being said, that's it, right?
I think that's all we got.
There's nothing more left?
No, sir.
You sure about that?
I think that's it, man. Okay. I think you nailed them all.
All right, then, enough being said. Adios, amigos. It's time for a taco. Goodbye.
Get on the couch. And that was without even a single drop of rum.
That was awesome.